Who's the other Williams that the Chiefs have?
Daryl.
Daryl.
And I'll be talking about him.
Daryl.
Because I like Daryl more than Damien.
Daryl Williams. Hello there. My name's Daryl Williams. His fucking beard's weird.
Are you starting it off?
We're just going to point at each other. I'll start it off this time.
Yeah.
What's going on, folks? Welcome to FATstaters with episode 2. It's actually episode 2, but I wanted it to rhyme. We are FATstats. It's Bobby Souza, myself, Keith, a.k.a. Fick. We just like to bring the game of football in the most entertaining way possible. Trying to do a little focus on fantasy football. In this here episode, we're going to talk about, buying low and selling high on some certain players, some people that we feel, you should buy high or sell low on.
In Dynasty.
Or sell high and buy low. I apologize. In Dynasty, of course, not in, redrafts. This could also help maybe some people who do keeper leagues too.
Yeah.
Certain keeper players.
Sure. Are you allowed to trade in the offseason? Honestly, I've never been in a keeper.
I was in a keeper league once, and I dropped out after the second season, but I don't think you were allowed to trade. So
okay.
That point goes.
So this is Dynasty offseason. All right.
All right.
Yeah. Me and Keith are both in Dynasty leagues. I'm in two of them, and Keith and I are in one together. So this will be pretty relevant for all you very loyal Dynasty fantasy football people.
Even new-coming people.
Yeah.
Some people to target for in the draft coming up.
Yeah.
And some people that maybe you could let slide.
Yeah.
Don't shoot high hopes for certain people. So hopefully we can help everybody out. A little info for everybody.
Okay. All right, I'll start it off. Let's do some buy lows.
Who you got, Bob?
The first guy I have is James Washington, wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a rookie last year, or this year, but regular season, yeah. He was a second-round pick out of Oklahoma State. James Washington was a Biletnikoff winner, All-American consensus in 2017, his senior year. He was very explosive. It was a spread offense, but he finished his senior year with 74 receptions, over 1,500 yards, and 13 touchdowns just his senior year. Yeah, with Mason Rudolph, who the Steelers also drafted. Now, this is regardless whether or not Antonio Brown is on the team. It definitely helps James Washington's stock if Antonio Brown gets traded. His buy low will diminish as soon as that news, if that happens. Antonio Brown's gone. James Washington is going to become a very hot asset, even being behind Juju in that offense with Ben still at the helm. But even if Antonio Brown stays, James Washington has the pedigree to be a very, very good NFL wide receiver. So he only really ran 3 types of routes in college. The 9 route, the post, and the curl, right? The 9 route is really what he's known for. He's great at contested catches. He was actually against press coverage. So Matt Harmon is a guy who does this thing called reception perception. And basically, he samples all the wide receivers in college, watches their film, and compares them. He has over 3 seasons of this data. So James Washington's actually in the 89th percentile. He had a close to 80% success against the press coverage, and which is you need that in the NFL. So on top of his very strong hands and his ability to go up in contest and get catches and use his body and knows how to leverage, this guy's going to be a really good wide receiver. He's young. Even if you wait till his 3rd year, my prediction is that he'll be, now obviously Antonio Brown would help this mature a lot quicker, but he'll be a wide receiver too, or a flex by next year, 2020 the latest.
Even if AB stays and Juju's still there?
It's going to be harder. He had 40, so he had a 42% catch rate, which is not that good. But he was targeted about, I think, 40 times. It's still not that good. but he's going to learn the system, and I believe they're going to use him more. He actually had he had a huge play against Denver where he dove for a ball he didn't need to dive for, and they actually sat him the next game. He would have been in a touchdown there. If Antonio Brown's there, I think it'll be 2020. He'll mature at that rate, but still, which is why he's a perfect buy low.
A reason why I like him too is look at Juju's first year with the Steelers. He didn't really have the greatest rookie year, and then look at him last year. This season technically. Look what he did.
Yeah, Juju Brown actually. So I did look this up. Juju Brown. Antonio Brown didn't have a great rookie season at all. I don't have the numbers here, but I know Juju actually did have a great season, which is why I think so. Juju had, let me see here. Juju, 58 passes for 917 yards.
His rookie year?
He almost had 1,000 yards. Yeah, and he had a bunch of touchdowns.
It was quiet then.
It was quiet, which is
because
why.
I feel AB put up 1,600 yards that year.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, exactly.
AB'd.
Right. But Juju, so that's another reason why it's even more of a buy low is because James Washington didn't have a Juju type year. James Washington was a second round pick just like Juju. You would think, people have high expectations for James Washington, and it didn't deliver, right? So that's my buy low, and I actually have a couple suggested trade offers where I think if you can give a second round rookie pick and get him, do it. Because I drafted him in my rookie pick end of the first, and I really liked him, or it might have been the beginning of the second. A second to me, though, is not super buy low. So my other suggestion is trade an older guy who might have had a good season, like Taylor Gabriel, a wide receiver for the Bears, had a great season. Trade Taylor Gabriel on a third. Or Demarius Thomas, get rid of an older wide receiver, and maybe you can get another pick with James Washington, maybe Demarius for James Washington in a third or something. Try buying low on this guy right now. If Brown goes, his stock really raises. If not, you'll have this offseason to acquire him. So that's my buy low.
And somebody like Demarius Thomas, which you don't know what his situation is going to be, being a free agent going into this year, didn't really have the greatest second half of the season with the Texans. It's very smart. Yep. My buy low, it's going to be Eric Ebron, tight end for the Indianapolis Colts. Going into the year, Andrew Luck loved Jack Doyle. That was his boy, college, NFL, everything. He just loved everything about Jack Doyle. It was his little safety net, and Jack Doyle was doing really well. But even when Jack Doyle was playing this year, Eric Ebron was still putting up touchdowns. And in fantasy, touchdowns is what matters, especially coming from the tight end position.
Yeah.
He had 13 receiving touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. That's not something that's just a fluke. When he was in Detroit, Matt Stafford's always up and down, up and down, up and down. You don't know what he's going to do. Andrew Luck is a consistent quarterback. He was out for a year. Nobody knew what he was going to do this year. But then you look at him this year. I'm really high on Eric Ebron because, one, Andrew Luck loves throwing to the tight end. You only have T.Y. pretty much as your number one deep threat on the outside. They got a couple other good guys, but Marlon Mack is coming into his own now too. Mm-hmm. But I just really, really like Ebron. And if I was I actually got rid of Eric Ebron earlier in the beginning of the year, and I'm really upset that I did as the season progressed. But going forward, if you want Eric Ebron, you could probably give up somebody maybe like a Kyle Rudolph in a second-round pick because Kyle Rudolph had a bad year this year. Obviously, it's a second-round rookie pick, and somebody might be willing to do that because of the name Kyle Rudolph. And, maybe he just didn't have chemistry with Kirk Cousins this year or blah, 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 and you don't know. And I feel like that's just a solid pick moving on into the future.
So you think with the season Eric Ebron had, there's still even a higher ceiling because buying low, meaning that even if to everybody else it might not be, you might have to pay a little bit for him. You think what you have to pay for him still he would still be worth it because he's going to only go up
because that was his first year with Luck. Now they have a year under their belt. They've played 16 games together, maybe less. I don't know the exact figure, but I mean, he did have 66 catches for 750 yards. He averaged 11 yards, a catch.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that he's a guy that might be put into that top tier tight end, like we talked about last week with the Ertzes and the Kelseys moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, you got rid of him in our Dynasty League.
I ended up trading him and a 5th round pick for Nelson Aguilar and a 1st round pick.
Conditional, right?
Conditional. If Eric Ebron had 750 yards or more, and lo and behold, he had 750 yards. Did it pay off? I don't know. I'll find out next year because the pick's not until next season. And it's something we can get back to, and I'll let you guys know who I ended up getting with that pick. But moving forward, something that I regret doing was trading Eric Ebron. I had Evan Ingram, and I could have given up Evan Ingram for the same price, which would have probably been the smarter pick because Eric Ebron's the most up and down. Evan Ingram's one of the most up and down tight ends I've ever seen.
Yeah. No, I don't hate that you traded Eric Ebron because he had, statistically, it's very hard to keep up touchdowns. Targets are something you can bank on, and he wasn't getting a ton of targets until Jack Doyle got hurt. And so I get why you traded him. It's just it's like in the Andrew Luck run offense, once they get to the red zone, they run it every now and then, but Andrew Luck just likes to throw it.
And it goes to Ebron most of the time. And
Ebron, he's a big body. He had a lot of dropping issues coming out of UNC into Detroit. But now he seems like he's good.
6'4", 253. Like he's just a big body to target.
Dude.
7 inches taller than a DB is guarding him or a safety, and it's tough to put a safety or a DB, and he's going to outrun a linebacker.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's something that people should look forward to wanting to try to trade for Eric Ebron.
Okay. Cool. All right, so we'll go to another buy low. So Tevin Coleman, he was someone that was talked about towards the end of Dynasty season, or actually towards the middle of Dynasty season. And that was going into this. We knew this was his last year on the Falcons. His contract's up, so he'll be a free agent unless the Falcons sign him. But Tevin Coleman will be a free agent, right? So the whole talk was he'll be like the Jerick McKinnon. Like he'll be a very sought-after free agent. Whoever, I don't know who is going to sign him, but he's a threat. He can run the ball and he can catch the ball. Being on the Falcons, the way they used him, he was very successful behind Devonta. Devonta got hurt, went on the IR like after week 5, and then Tevin Coleman stepped in. A lot of people were disappointed by Tevin Coleman's production this year. So I looked at the numbers and I'm like, I don't know why people were so disappointed. They just had too high of expectations. So there's 2 things I saw from it. So Coleman had the highest yards per carry of his career last year. This past regular season. 4.8 per carry on only 167 rushing attempts. That's about 10 rushes per game. He had more yards per carry than Zeke Elliott, who had double the rush attempts per game. You give Coleman 10 more carries a game, and he's got well over 1,000 yards. He finished the year with about 800. So
that was with Devonta starting for 5 games.
Yeah, Devonta starting, and then Coleman. Well, Devonta, he had some injuries, but then Ito Smith, the rookie, right? He's the guy that's supposed to take over for Coleman once Tevin Coleman leaves. So the thought is, let's give Ito Smith some work. Let's see if he can be this backup role so we can get rid of Tevin Coleman and not pay him the money he wants. Tevin Coleman's 26 years old, so this will most likely be his last big contract, or not last contract, maybe.
But it could be a big one, and
it'll be a big one.
It might be his only big one.
3 to 4 years, right, until he's 30, and it'll be a big one depending on where he lands because he's definitely someone that has the talent. We've seen it. So he's not going to just all of a sudden be bad. He's actually a very good running back and a pass catcher. So... And then Ito Smith, like I said, was eating into Tevin Coleman's red zone work. So Ito Smith had 20 rush attempts in the red zone. Tevin Coleman had 17. So they were giving Ito Smith a lot of the work in the red zone as well. So Coleman's touchdowns went down a little bit, which is why I think people were disappointed. He's still a pass catcher. So to me, Tevin Coleman is someone I actually have I made a trade for him. In Dynasty, and it was someone who was in the playoffs that needed a tight end, and Jared Cook, they really needed a tight end, and I traded Jared Cook for Tevin Coleman. There might have been a pick in there somewhere, but I'm fine with that. Tevin Coleman will be a running back 2 or flex depending on where he goes, and I'm very okay with that.
Oh yeah, I would be okay with that too. Where do you think he might go?
I'm trying to think about some of the teams that need running back, and I really don't know. I'm not sure of some of the teams. I don't know. I have to check. I have to think about it. Do you have any thoughts on where you go?
I've been thinking about it this whole time. One thing that came to mind is the Jets, but the Jets are really high on Bilal Powell and Elijah McGuire, so I don't think so. You got Buffalo with an aging running back in LaShawn McCoy.
That's a good.
It could be somebody who can share carries and then buy LaShawn. Hello, Tevin.
Yep.
I could see him, fit pretty well over there, especially the way Josh Allen runs the ball.
Right.
But those are the only 2 teams that came to mind for me.
Yeah.
Because everybody else has a solid running back.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think.
42 running backs in a committee like the Patriots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So my suggestion for a trade offer, if someone is willing to take a second round rookie draft pick, you should take that offer immediately. If someone's going to offer, or if I can offer a second for Tevin Coleman, I'm doing that immediately because he's worth it. And a late first round pick, I'd consider it, but again, that's not buy low. So what I would try and do is maybe trade a second in Dion Lewis. Or trade Dion Lewis, right? Get rid of. I just don't know what's going to happen. On the flip side, trade Derrick Henry. He had a great season when he was used, like towards the end of this regular season. So maybe a third in Derrick Henry, or maybe Derrick Henry straight up. But to me, Tevin Coleman has proven he can produce when he's given the opportunity. Derrick Henry, not always.
Especially with LaFleur being gone, you have no idea what Derrick Henry is going to do or how the heck they're going to use him at all.
Yeah, and if Mariota doesn't step up and really start to take leaps forward, it's going to be hard to get that running game going. So that's my buy high or buy low.
Defenses could put 11 in the box.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Chase.
All right. What's who's your? Now you're on.
Now we're moving on to sells. So this might be the coldest take of cold takes ever given, but James Conner. Wasn't a fan of him last season. Not going to be a big fan of him going into this season. He put up, he had 215 attempts for 973 yards, like 4.5 yards a carry, 12 touchdowns. But Le'Veon, with the same amount of attempts, was putting up 1,500 yards. 1,400 yards, missing games and still putting up that amount. I just don't see James Conner as that rock, as that guy. Especially, it'd definitely be hard for him to replicate the year that he had last year with, all those touchdowns. So what did he have total in touchdowns? 13 total touchdowns. It's going to be very hard for him to replicate that. He fumbled the ball 4 times. So it's once every 4 games he's going to fumble the ball. And especially knowing the Steelers situation moving forward with, obviously I feel like Le'Veon's going to be gone. They're not going to get him. Some team will sign him. And the talks with this whole AB thing, how the owner doesn't see him coming back. And, AB says, or Jerry Rice says he talks to AB all the time, and AB really wants to be a 49er. I don't see Antonio Brown in the Pittsburgh Steelers jersey next year. I just don't see it. So it's going to be hard for a team it'll be easier for defenses because now you don't have to worry about Antonio Brown on the outside. Juju's a hooper, don't get me wrong. He's a baller through and through, but he's not Antonio Brown.
Right. So
defenses will be able to stack 8 in the box, play double coverage on what's his name, and then be able to,
Don't forget about James Washington.
Well, that's your boy, but he's something to still left be to be desired there from what we've seen last year. No knock on any of those players. I just don't feel like James Conner replicates the kind of year he had. So if you have James Conner, I guarantee you there's people in your league who will trade you 2 first-round rookie picks for him, a first and a second-round rookie pick for him in this year's draft. And if I were you, I eat it. I take that all day, every day.
Oh, you can get more. Yeah, you can get. You
could probably get more, is what I'm saying too. Maybe you could flip it into somebody like a Tevin Coleman and 2 first-round picks.
You can do something crazy. I mean, people love
people want him, and I don't see him.
Yeah.
I see him maybe being like, if everybody remembers the Icky Shuffle guy. I can't think of his name, from the Bengals way back in the 90s. Icky Woods. He had a ball-in rookie year, and then that was it. I feel like that's what James Conner is headed for.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of people that you would trade him for. So I like Jalen Samuels, who was in Yahoo leagues, he was a running back / tight end. So he was like one of the best tight ends.
I hate when they do that.
I loved it because I had him. But I do like Jalen Samuels coming out of NC State. He was a very versatile player. I like him. I don't know if the Steelers are going to use the running back by committee because they did see something in Jalen Samuels, his pass catching ability. I'm not sure if they're going to use James Conner full-fledged. I'm in agreement with you. I would try and trade him for the right price. Last year I traded Zeke for Melvin Gordon in a first-round pick. It was Zeke and someone, and I was happy with it because I got comparable, and ended up getting Rashad Penny, who I'm waiting on. But still, like, you could do something like that where James Conner and maybe get a running back that's kind of people still aren't loving, someone that you usually draft in the second round of redraft.
And you might even be able to trade James Conner in a first-round pick, and get somebody like Zeke or somebody maybe like Saquon because you're like, people might value them as the same. And now you're strengthening your team up.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. All right, my sell high is Damien Williams, the running back for the Chiefs. So being a Dolphins fan, I got to watch Damien Williams a lot, his first 4 seasons with the Dolphins, and he never took the reins as a number 1 running back. It took injuries to get him on the field. He's a good pass catcher. Don't get me wrong. He has like over a 70% catch rate, and he was targeted about 20 times in each season. And when he did, he delivered. He was a third down guy. And it took injury, like I said, for him to make. He only had 3.6 yards per attempt, which is not good.
Not that great.
In his 4 seasons with the Dolphins.
Oh.
But
still not that great.
No, not that great at all. So we had 4 seasons, which is a decent sample size to say, okay, if this guy's going to be a stud, he's going to step in one of these 4 seasons and take the reins. Now, Dolphins do questionable things with running backs. They always have.
Very
They don't
questionable
feed
things.
Kenyon Drake. Frank Gore was solid, though. So, regardless, though, to me, Damien Williams is not going to be the guy. He was successful because Andy Reid. If you've looked at Andy Reid's success for his RB1s, his running backs, when I was looking this up, in 19 seasons, his running back ones averaged 1,400 yards and 9.5 touchdowns.
A season.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's had 10 out of his 19 seasons, a top 10 running back.
It also helps when one of those running backs is LaShawn McCoy. Kind of helps.
LaShawn McCoy, though, Westbrook.
Brian Westbrook was a
Sharkhandrick West, Spencer Ware.
Kareem.
So, to me, yes, those running backs are very good. But it wasn't until Kareem got released, Spencer Ware got hurt, that Damien Williams got an opportunity.
Why are we forgetting
Jamal Charles, yeah. Good point. Damien Williams is none of those guys.
No.
Now, he can be successful because of the Andy Reid-led offense and because they have a rising superstar quarterback who put it up an MVP type season.
Shout out, Patty.
Yeah. And because of that, it opens things up for the running game. But like I said, Andy Reid-led offense, it's not going to take much for a running back to be successful enough for that offense to do well. My thing is follow the money. So they sign him to a 2-year extension. It's $5.1 million 2 years. But he's only guaranteed $1.6 million of that. 31% of it is guaranteed money. You follow the money. He is a solid third down back, and I think he will be. Going into this next season, though, you have no idea. Tevin Coleman could be a Chief. They could sign Tevin Coleman and have a much better running back than.
That would be a great spot.
Yeah.
We didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
now I'm thinking of
now.
it. That'd be deadly.
And I like Darrell Williams, who had to play behind Lenny Fournette at LSU, so never got the shine. And then he played behind
Darius Geis.
Thank you. So, and Darrell Williams is pretty good. I liked him. I like watching him play. He's strong. He runs hard. I mean, he could learn the system and become a pass blocker and take Damien Williams' job in a heartbeat. So my whole point is sell this guy high in the offseason as soon as you can. I think you can get a really good running back. You can get a rookie and a pick. You can get Rashad. I'd trade him for Rashad Penny in maybe a second, or sell him high. You can get. Not a lot of people might not love Sony Michel because he was injured and people are worried about his knee. Make the trade.
And the 42 other running backs that they have.
Yeah, exactly right. Sure.
Sweet feet.
Or trade for Tevin Coleman or Jordan Howard, who actually started to, once he got the ball in the end of the season. And he's a good running back. We've seen it proven.
He'll get the ball moving forward because
Right.
Tariq Cohen's going to be a free agent and somebody will sign him because he's kind of like a Tevin Coleman.
Yeah.
When he's given the opportunities, he's going to shine.
Yep. So my whole point is get somebody that has proven it. Damien Williams, over the long haul, has not proven it. He's proven it this last 4 weeks of the regular season. But
Small sample size.
I'm selling him.
Would you see him better as an RB2 on a team? Like a solid RB2?
Yeah, he'd be a good third down pass catcher, change of pace. That's it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was never really high on him. I honestly thought Darrell Williams was the one who was doing all the good work this year. That just shows how much I pay attention or how really he might be.
Right.
So we did 3 buys. That was 2 sells. I'm going to do my last one.
Okay.
This might be a surprise to some people, but we're going with another running back here. And it just shows how, what was the word you used to me the other day on the phone about the running backs?
How scarcity?
It's the scarcity of it and how just
the longevity of them.
that, and how they don't really last long in the league.
Yep.
After a certain time, you start seeing a decline.
Sure.
Mine's going to be Lamar Miller. I love Lamar Miller. I watched him in college, watched him with the Finns. I was at a game, Giants-Finns game, when they played down here a couple years back, and Lamar Miller ran for 126 yards on us in the first half and 2 touchdowns. Dolphins didn't give him the ball the second half.
That's when Odell whooped us, right?
Oh, yeah, he came up with like 2 sick catches in the end zone.
Yeah,
he was
I
getting
remember
hype out there. Yeah, it was a good time. But they gave him the ball in the first half, and he ran all over us like it was nobody's business. And all of a sudden, they stopped giving him the ball, and then boom. And next year he's out, goes to Houston. He starts putting up good numbers with Houston. He missed 2 full games last year. However, I'm going to consider it 3 because he got hurt early in the first quarter in one game towards the end of the season, week 15. So in the 13 games that he did play, 210 rushes, 973 yards. That's really good. 5 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown on 25 catches for 163 yards. He only fumbled the ball once. This is somebody who's now 27 years old at this point, will be 28 going into the season. We know that the running backs start taking a hit. You can't carry the ball 210 times a year. You're going to get hit 210 times. Mm-hmm. And, well, it's not something that's sustainable for him, and especially with Deonta Foreman is his name.
Yep.
Deonta Foreman coming back. They got a couple other young cats. I see him as somebody a team who thinks they're that one piece away from the championship. Like, if I just had a good RB2 on my team, he'd be a solid RB2 maybe for next year. But going forward, you could maximize your value for him now. And trade Lamar Miller for somebody we've been talking about, maybe a Tariq Cohen, a Jordan Howard, a Tevin Coleman, somebody like that. And somebody might be willing to do that straight up.
Yep.
And if that's the case, sell him. Get rid of him.
Sure.
He's on my Dynasty team right now, and I'm looking to field trade offers for him. Because I know that there might be a team or two who are like, man, if I just had this running back, or I just had this running back. Because I'm sitting on people like Alvin Kamara, Lenny Fournette. I got Devonta Freeman, who I'm still holding hope for. I'm still holding hope for him. I really like Devonta. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get rid of Lamar Miller. Maybe try to get myself a solid a solid wide receiver.
Yeah.
Maybe even a better tight end. Or my quarterback situation could maybe do a little improving. Maybe try to get a better quarterback. It's just a piece that I feel like you can move around. And your team won't take that big of a hit if you have the people in place. Now, if he's your RB1, sorry to say you're screwed.
Yeah, it's a long season for you anyways.
A very long season. And I only started playing him towards the end of the year when, a couple of players started getting hurt. I had to plug him in at one point because Lenny was hurt for like 12 games. Well, felt like 12 games. So it's just, he's somebody who will produce, but I see this might be his last year of really good production, and his 970-something yards might now drop to 920 yards and then 850 yards.
Right.
And you just start seeing him going down, especially when you have that quarterback like Deshaun Watson, where he balls when Watson balls.
For sure.
Now, if Watson's not balling, he's not going to ball. Now, you could say that about anybody, but look at Eli this year. Eli had not the greatest year. Didn't really put up some flashy numbers, but Saquon balled. You know, Dak just puts up mediocre numbers. Zeke's balling. Todd Gurley. Yeah, Jared Goff was balling in the beginning of the year, but after week 11, he started doing a regression. Todd Gurley never regressed. I just don't see him as one of those guys anymore. I see him as somebody who's now going to just keep going down and down.
I like it. Cool. Okay, cool. So just to recap, our 3 buy lows: James Washington, wide receiver from the Steelers, Tevin Coleman from the Falcons, and Eric Ebron, the Colts.
And our 3 sells are going to be Lamar Miller of the Houston Texans, Damien Williams of the Kansas City Chiefs, and James Conner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That could be the coldest of cold takes. That could come back and bite me in the butt. If it does, it does. I don't see that.
Well, if you sell high enough, it really wouldn't matter, right? I thought the same thing when I got rid of Zeke. Melvin was a fine replacement.
Well, Zeke, that's for another day. He has one of the greatest O-lines, and yet his yards per carry is not one of the greatest things.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So other honorable mentions, just to some things. We'll talk about it more in the offseason, but just some names we wrote down that just keep your eye on in the offseason. We're not really sure what to do with them. A guy I acquired fairly low, Royce Freeman.
Philip Lindsay's balling.
Royce Freeman actually does well when he gets the ball. So does Philip Lindsay, but Royce Freeman's actually better at breaking tackles, things like that. And he had more people in the box when Royce Freeman was running than Philip Lindsay.
And going on that, I could see the two of them being the next tandem to do 1,000 yards each in the future, maybe next season. Both of them rush for over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, if they can get a quarterback and they actually start to use Royce Freeman more, I agree.
Another guy that we got on this list is Jordan Howard. At the beginning of the year, he was his rookie year, he was phenomenal. 1,500 yards. He led the league in rushing, and took like a major regression, but started balling again towards the end of the season. Trubisky looks like he's a really good quarterback. It looks like he knows what he's doing. If they can get another solid outside playmaker, then I could see Jordan Howard being like that dude next season.
Okay. All right. So Jalen Samuels, keep an eye on him for the Steelers, and Jay Ajayi, he's a free agent, right? I believe he's not on. Yeah, he'll be.
I don't think that the Eagles are going to resign him. They got Corey Clement. They got Josh Adams, who I'm pretty high on Josh Adams.
Mm-hmm. So just watch out for Jay Ajayi where he goes. He's still a strong running back when he's healthy.
And you got Le'Veon.
Yeah, watch out for Le'Veon.
Who knows where the hell he's going to go.
Yep.
It'll be fun to see. Imagine he goes to Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, that'd be stupid. Okay, great. Good episode.
That was it, guys. Thanks for listening. Any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to contact us at FAT_team stats on Twitter. At Bobby_Souza, at Fick is the name. We're here to help. So any questions you guys have, anything, come holler at us. DMs are open. Slide on in.
See ya.
Peace.